I'm Ted Panken, and this is the second part of an interview under the auspices of the National Jazz Museum in Harlem with the venerable and superb guitarist George Freeman from Chicago. Loren Schoenberg and I interviewed George about a week ago. It went so well, we decided to do part two. I'm doing this one because Loren can't be here. And welcome back to the National Jazz Museum in Harlem, George Freeman. Welcome.
Glad to be here. You know that.
I am too, and I'm so glad you're here. We talked about so many things last week. And one thing that really struck me is how many eras of music you've been through as an active participant, and how many streams of music you've been through, and how creative you've been within all of them.
Thank you.
As a player in Chicago and in other places as well. So we covered a lot, and I hope our audience gets to view that first interview. There's some things I'd particularly like to ask you about and talk to you about, and then let's see where it goes. We talked a lot about Johnny Griffin, who you played with, particularly in the 40s and as a kid in high school, who he was your classmate at DuSable High School. Talked about Gene Ammons. We talked about a lot of the great musicians who were in Chicago when you were a young man and interacting with these musicians. One person we didn't speak about was Muhal Richard Abrams. And I'm not sure how well you knew Muhal, but he was, I know he was friends with Johnny Griffin. And I guess there's a story I heard which made me think of him and you in connection, which is that Johnny Griffin introduced Muhal to the Schillinger system of composition, and that this kind of launched Muhal into studying that system, and hence started his career as a composer in some ways. Now, I wouldn't necessarily expect that you had a firsthand knowledge of that, but I'm just wondering, you know, if you intersected with him in during the 1950s, what you thought about him, because there is a connection between your family and the AACM, particularly through your nephew Chico.
I thought Muhal was well, he was exceptional. He was different. He had seemed like he wanted to do things his way, and he stuck with it to the very end. And he left out of Chicago and went to New York, and that's where he lived. But Chico was there with the AACM for quite some time. That's how Chico got started. And my brother was also familiar with AACM. AACM, I think what they were really doing was make music so everybody could accept it. It wasn't, bebop was one thing, and bebop was kind of difficult. And when Muhal came along, he was able to change it to make it a little easier for people to learn how to play the music that he had brought forward. Because bebop was mostly consists of standards and complication in scales and right to make it a little more simpler for people to pick up the chords and the melody line. So you got credit for that too. Everybody loved Mulhall. And Mulhall went to, in high school, he was a little bad boy in high school.
So he told me, yeah, he told me that.
He was a little bad boy in high school. But he proved to be one of the giants in the music industry. So everybody loved Mulhall.
Well,
everybody loved the AACM.
He told me that he taught himself to play piano. He didn't have a teacher as such. Did you, he was a few years younger than you, but did you know him when he was in high school?
No, I didn't know him then. I knew of him when he got, say famous. Because he was able to bring this music out there, and he had a following. That's one thing about music is if you put it out there right, you get a following. Like standards, you know, people love standards. People like bebop, and people also like what Mulhall was doing, and so many others. You know, they get a following. People just enjoy music, and Mulhall's music was appreciated very much, and all over the world. That's what made it so good about him. He was able to get across to people all over the world, not just here in Chicago. And you know, and he could play the piano any kind of way you wanted to hear it. He didn't necessarily have to play what you thought he was known for. Mulhall could play standards like everybody else, but he got known for what his style of playing. Yes, I knew him.
One of his precepts in the AACM was for the member musicians to write and perform original music. That particularly in the early years of the AACM, and that's what he passed down to quite a number of Chicago musicians who also become quite famous, I guess, including Chico, who came into that. I guess, you know, a lot of the musicians from Chicago to whom I've spoken over the years talk about originality as perhaps the main imperative for a musician in Chicago. Almost everybody, your brother too, talked about being an original, having your own voice is the most important thing. Does that ring true with you?
Well, you know, everybody can't be original.
Okay.
Everybody can't have their own voice. They can't have it. It's not meant to be that way. Everybody can't be Richard April. Everybody can't be Charlie Parker. They can't be Von Freeman. They can't be Gene Ammons. You know, you have to work on what you have to work on it. And the main thing is you got to have rhythm. And if you don't have rhythm, whatever you're trying to do, people won't hear it because they're not necessarily at the pat your foot, but you have to have some standard of feeling to put to the people. And like I said, everybody can't be original. It's almost impossible for the whole world being original. It's always going to be somebody coming out there with a new sound. I never forget Charlie Parker when he was first got out there. And when I first heard Charlie Parker, it was in the 40s. And Charlie Parker was 10 years older than me in the 40s. In other words, when I first heard him, he'd been out there. And when he got out there, he was so amazing. until he knew he was amazing. He knew he had something different, and this is what he said. He said, yes, in another 50 years, something else will come out here. And that's true, that's the way it works. In another 50 years, somebody else will come out here with something new. So it's not all Charlie Parker. It got people out there like Mulhall and Sonny Blunt. That's what I call him, Sonny Blunt, because that's when I met him. And they come out with something different. They come out with different style of playing. They come out with different, when they write their music is totally different. Because Mulhall, I noticed people under AACN, they all write this somewhat the same way. It's kind of different. And if you look at it closely, it all connects, because you can John Coltrane. I remember him I met him when I went to New York with Johnny. I went to Philadelphia. John Coltrane was playing alto saxophone, and he ended up playing the tenor. I know that, but he started out playing the alto, and I think he played with ordinarily bands. He played with bands that were played rhythm and blues, rock and roll. Not necessarily rock and roll, but rhythm and blues. He went through that. He went through the change. And then when he got to playing his horn, as I said before, he and I were very close friends. He got to playing his horn. There were other musicians out there that were playing differently than what he was doing. So he wanted to adventure to go out to what they was doing. And even in Chicago, musicians were experiencing different. That's what that's where lots of musicians came forward into. They got to hear different sounds. And that's what happened to the music business. And the music business right now, people nowadays trying to resort back to the old days. I listen to DJs and they're talking about, well, this record is out in 1940 or 1945, and this is 1920 right here. That's way back. So Mulhall made a statement, and everybody loved him for it, and the musicians still remember him. So what they're trying to do now is hook it all up together, if possible. I find it quite hard for a musician to play one type of music, then go into another. So
when you say
Mulhall's playing is quite popular.
When you say
now.
Hook it all up, do you mean trying to play all of those different styles or eras of music?
Yeah, they try to hook it up. You know. Like John Coltrane started out playing standards. Mm-hmm. Next thing I know, he was going out.
He was going out, but then he was also recording ballads too, wasn't he? So
he played beautiful ballads.
Yeah,
I loved his ballads. My God, you never would think he was going out by the way he played the ballads. But he got the ballads from being with Johnny Hodges, and Johnny Hodges was the king ballad player. And you be with those kind of musicians, you learn how to play ballads, and you learn how to. And then as he grown, he got bigger. He started playing ballads his way. Sounded like he was crying at me all the time, but he was definitely a ballad player. He was a sweet player. Played very sweet on his tenor, and I love a sweet tenor player. And I can name all. My brother plays sweet. Johnny Hodges plays sweet. Gene Ammons played sweet. And so ballads have always been complicated. But Coltrane did play beautiful ballads. He and Johnny Hartman together was perfect. Because Johnny Hartman, he was singing the chorus, but John was playing the tenor like it was the ballad. So the connection has been beautiful. And when I was when I first got with, when I was with Gene Ammons, we were going to, we was going to New York, and I started going outside because I heard Sonny go outside.
Sonny Rollins?
I'm sorry.
Sonny Sun Ra or Sonny Rollins?
No, Sonny's a guitar player.
Oh, Sonny Chirac.
Yeah. We were going we was going to play a concert on the same concert that Sonny was on. And I got there, I heard this guitar player making all that noise. I said, what? He had about 2 amplifiers in the speakers. I said, who in the heck is that? And sure enough, it stuck with me so much. And next thing I know, I started going outside, but I was playing jazz going out. But the first person I heard do that was Sonny. I hadn't heard Sonny do that since, but he was going outside playing the guitar. So, that's what changed me around. Because I was changed around anyway by tenor saxophone players. They turned me around anyway because they playing rock and roll, rhythm and blues, swinging and honking and they doing and screaming. And here as of late, they was going out. They didn't play no standard, no melody, or nothing. Just went out, just growling. But that excited me. So I started going out on the guitar, and I think that's what Dan Morgenstern heard. I don't know, but it's been an exciting adventure for me. Is to know that you can go out, go in, and there's still an audience for those kind of, the people going out, going in, whatever they want to do. People, they support you.
How much technology did you use in going out? Were you using pedals and things? Is it all with your hands?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
When you, as you put it, go out, play distortion, play extreme sounds, or those sorts of things that we identify. Do you do it all with your hands and fingers? Do you use other technology? Have you developed ways of eliciting those sounds?
Well, that's a good thought. First of all, you got to have the idea. You got to have the you got to be able to go out, and you still got to be able to come back in. Because sometimes they go out there and can't come back in because they lose consciousness of what's the awareness of where you're supposed to go. They go out there and get lost, and that's where a good jazz player come in, because he can still hear the melody, he can hear still the chorus, and he goes out, he's able to come back in, and so that is a big problem there, is going back out, coming back in. But actually, when you go out, you're able to, in your mind, still hear the melody. You're still hearing, like for instance, if you're going outside on the blues, the 12-bar blues, well, you can go out there on the 12-bar blues, but you're still able to hear 12 bars in your ear. You're still able to hear 12 bars. If you're going outside on the standard, you're still able to hear the standard when it ends and when it begins. And that can be a problem, because when you go out on the standard, if you're not careful, you'll get lost. Because the piano player sometimes might get lost, the drummer might get lost. But if you go outside on standards, which is possible to do. And you still got in your mind 24 bars or 12 bars. And the band got in their mind, people you're playing with, 12 bars, 24 bars. You go out there, and when you come out of that 24 bar, they come out together. Because if you notice drummers, when they play their solo, they're out there by themselves. They're taking the solo all by themselves, and they're playing the melody on drums. They're playing the melody on drums, and they're able to play. And those that can't play the melody on the drums, when they come back in, the band is kind of lost because the melody, they couldn't hear the melody. With a drummer, they play melody like anybody else. Even though he's playing drums, he can still play that melody line. And therefore, when he gets through with his 12-bar solo or 24-bar, whatever, he's able to come back in on time. So I think it's just a matter of being able to listen to what is being played. And our side came out there, and they started. I've been to places in New York City where they had something like 12 tenor players out there playing at the same time. They're all just playing, growling and carrying on. And people just love it. But see, they didn't have the piano player. They just been out there on their own, and but they were able to come back in when it was time to come back in. So everybody's going out. Everybody went out. I started going out, but I could hear them when it's time to come back in. And when you come back in, the drummer can also hear it, and the bass player can hear it. And above all, the piano player can hear it. And if he can hear it, and you playing out, you know when you're coming back in, because it sounds like it's a bunch of noise, but they're counting the melody line in their head. In other words, they got to listen to what's being played. And so that's what's so great about going outside, is coming back in. You don't go out there and get lost, or forget that you're out there. You got others out there following you. You got other people that listen to what you have to play. And another thing, the art, music. The audience can tell when you're going out and coming back in. Now that's something new for me. It's really that they know, the audience knows 12 bars when they hear 12 bars. They know 24 bars. The audience, they know when the course ends. That's how great music has been to some of these jazz fests. They come out to hear the music and they know exactly when your solo ends or when it begins. They don't go over. If the tenor plays over, they know that. They know when to tap their hands. They know when to applaud. It's fantastic. Music is simply fantastic. But it's like anything else. You got to be trained for it. You got to have some kind of teacher or something to teach you. You just can't do it on your own. And if you do it on your own, you got to have somebody that you could follow. They said certain people can't read. And man, I can't read, but they can sure hear. And so I just been lucky enough to be able to blessed to hear the music when it ends and when it begins.
Mr. Freeman, well, now you just, wow, you opened up so many different things to talk about. I'm trying to figure out which road to take. But I think we're talking about, being able to elicit a very broad array of sounds and timbres and tones on the guitar. And you were showing me right before we started recording a bunch of new picks that you have picked up today. And I've never seen any picks quite like that. I believe they are door handles. So tell me a little bit about how your choice of a picking instrument, how it happened and how that factors into your sound.
That is so interesting. It is so interesting.
If you have a pick close by, you might want to show the people what it is. Or
I don't have any pick close by. Uh-oh. Wait a minute.
So this is George Freeman. Raise it up a little bit. There it is. Yes. All right.
See up here, you can see up there, you can grip it. And that was Shaw that gave me the pick. And he and his wife, they went to the store and bought me some more picks. And you get this, and as you get older, like I am, you find out that playing fast is it's difficult. And playing melody is difficult as you get older. And execution is difficult. Playing fast is very difficult because musicians nowadays, the younger musicians are flying all over the place, especially guitar players. They're flying all over the place. But as you get older, you find out that some parts of you doesn't go as fast as you like for it to be.
Well, beats the alternative, doesn't it? Yes.
So when I got these, I got to playing with these different picks, I found out that some has a punch, and some picks are faster than others, and some picks slide over the strings, and some picks, when it slides over the strings, it makes it much easier for you to pick up and down. Because guitar is a very complicated instrument anyway, so you got up and down going, and you got downstroke. But as you get older, you find out that playing up and down and playing it's much easier if you got the right kind of pick. And if you playing a good jump tune, certain picks don't work because it's, I'll give you a good example, like horn players. Like the rougher, those who growl and play hard got a different type of reed that they're playing with. And maybe a mouthpiece. And those that are playing very light, you got reeds called 1, 3, 4, and 5. Those that are playing light, they have a different type of reed that enables them to play light. So, and then you got to have the armature that play heavy and strong. And the same thing applies to guitar picks. Guitar picks, the lighter the pick, the faster you can play, but you won't be able to play strong with it. You won't be able to, as I say, well, let's put it like this. You won't be able to play to the point where you can play for a jazz festival. Like they had that jazz at the Philharmonic at one time. And all the tenor players played strong. They had to play strong because they had to be howling and whooping. And that was very popular during that time, howling and whooping and screaming. Well, they had to have a certain kind of reed for that. they had reeds, 4, 5, and 6 reeds, and then you have to have a certain kind of mouthpiece to play that type of tenor. Now, Lester Young, he had a lighter sound, even though he was so dramatic in playing. I mean, he had, into his ideas were, he could get his ideas across. But Coleman Hawkins not only could get the ideas across, but he was growling. Then you had the Jazz of the Philharmonic. You had Eleanor Jackie. He was howling and screaming, and Flip Wilson got to howling and screaming. And they had Bird on there at one time, and Bird's playing ideas. At the same time he's playing ideas, he's still able to holler. So that's what I said. Oh, that's what I like about that. He's holler and scream and still get off his instrument and still play ideas. He didn't have to hump and holler and scream. He just played that, but he had the right kind of mouthpiece and read that he wanted to have. Because he didn't tell nobody what it was. I don't think he did. And so, but I could look at it, I played with him, and I used to watch it. And we worked at a place like a big ballroom, and he'd be all over the place, and was still able to execute. You know what I mean? So therefore, by him being able to execute his horn and what he was playing, he got over. Even on records, he was able to have a big sound, but he was still able to execute. And most of the horn players that were howling and hooting, they couldn't execute. They had to. Well, let's say they had the reed that they had and the mouthpiece, but mostly the reed. I stayed with Arnett Cobbs when I was in Texas. And Arnett Cobbs he's playing with Lonnie Hampton's band. And they played that Flying Home. And I said, goodness, I just with the drummer back there playing backbeat and the trumpet players howling on the trumpets, and Arnett was out there playing that saxophone and dancing, the people went crazy. Now at the same time, I worked with Charlie Parker, and he was able to get the big sound and still execute, and still able to play balance, and still able to play ideas. So it's that's where the pick come in there. The pick enables you to, I mean, everybody wants to play fast. Everybody shouldn't want to play fast, but everybody can't play melody. They can't play pretty with it because the pick won't let them do too much. There's only too much you can do with certain kind of picks. So what I did, I tried to get a pick that could enable me to play fast, slow, the blues. You even got the blues if you pick on the guitar. I mean, random strings on the guitar. You got all kinds of things, but you got to have a certain kind of pick to do it. If you don't have a certain kind of pick to do it, you slide over the strings. Then you have to have a certain kind of pick to play the chorus. Guitar is complicated. You got to have the right kind of pick. Now, most guitar players are playing fast. They have a hard time playing rhythm. Most guitar players playing rhythm, like playing blues, they can't play fast because they have the wrong kind of pick. So with this pick, you're able to play fast, slow, play pretty, play rhythm. Because I played in club here not so long ago, Whereas if you're not careful, people talk all over you. They talk while you're playing. They might hear you, they might not hear you. And of course, they say it's the system, it's the microphones and all that too, but trust me, you got to have a strong pick. And this pick is...
You took it out and you came right back inside. That was beautiful. Thank you for that, George Freeman. So we're staying with guitars. I'm sorry, am I you probably have more to say about this. So.
I didn't mean to hit on the wall like that, though. But I'm just saying how the difference is how I'm missing horn players because they are. I've been finding horn players all my life, and trumpet players. Trumpet players got to have the right mouthpiece to hit the right notes. Sometimes they can have the right mouthpiece, but they can't play up high. They have the right mouthpiece and they can't execute. I've never seen such a. It's all. Trumpet players want to play ideas like Dizzy Gillespie, but Dizzy Gillespie was able to play up high and play. He could play any kind of way he wanted to play. Miles Davis he suffered in playing. Of course, the time when he was coming up was all bebop, and he set on playing not high, but just swing and play this great melody. He was the melody man, but he could swing with that melody. And so I listened to lots of guitar players, and lots of guitar players play fast. Some play with chords. Some play beautiful chords. Guitar goes all kind of ways.
Well, you've heard a lot of guitar players.
I'm sorry?
You've heard a lot of guitar players.
You say I did hear me.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
I was saying that you've heard a lot of guitar players. And I wanted to ask you something about guitar players. Excuse me, Mo.
Sure.
You mentioned last week that a neighbor named John Goodhue was an early teacher. Gitlow was an early teacher of yours. You heard T-Bone Walker as a young guy at the Rum Boogie Club.
Yeah.
You heard Charlie Christian. You heard his records. You told Loren that you stole some licks. You played some licks from George Barnes,
I played with George Barnes right now.
Who were some of the your contemporaries around Chicago who were playing guitar when you were coming up? One name I've heard a lot is Leo Blevins, who I gather used to play a lot with the great bassist Wilbur Ware.
Oh, he was good. Because we used to play together. He and I used to play together. We used to play together, and we used to laugh about it because we'd go out and blow everybody out because we had an amplifier that was loud. both of us played loud. And Leo played loud. He played with Gene Ammons for a while, and then played with Jimmy Smith for a while. But he could make that guitar holler. That was his style of playing, making it holler. But he wasn't into the ideas of the guitar. He wasn't able to express himself as, that's where Charlie Parker come in. Charlie Parker was able to express himself. He was able to come in and play hard and loud and play ideas, which is complicated for guitar players to do. Now, they're gonna have to do one or the other. Play soft or play, and to get that melody line going, or else they're gonna have to sacrifice something. And I knew that. And I knew that in order for me to play the guitar, as I got older, I would have to sacrifice something. And so that's when I started changing picks. And Lord, I started changing picks for the last 20 years, different picks for that. I didn't realize how important it was. And I listened to some of my older records when I was playing some of those different kind of picks. I was wondering how I did it, because now I can't even play with a pick that I played with 10 15 years ago. I played a gig here in Macedonia and lost my pick. And the father walked up to me and said, "Here, here's a pick." It was a regular guitar pick. I couldn't play with it if I tried, but that's what I used to play with. So this, I got some friend of mine that when I got me some picks, Sean and his wife, and is that your phone?
I think it's your phone.
Okay. Okay. So then when I got me some picks, and where they got the pick from, it wasn't from a guitar store. Above all, it wasn't from the regular guitar store where you buy guitar picks. And I used to play with those picks. And I made one of my best records was made with a guitar pick, Frantic Diagnosis. Lord, that was about 20 years ago.
Almost 50.
Up in the 50s?
No, I think it was 1971 or 2 or 3.
Well, it was a long time ago.
Long time ago with your
and
brother.
I couldn't play with a pick like that now. Because I've gotten older, I guess. I don't know. But I did back then.
So back then, besides Leo Blevins, who were some of the other guitar players around Chicago who you liked and played with and exchanged ideas with?
Well, they had quite a few around there. I just can't think of their names right now. They had guitar players back then playing fast as lightning back then. I wish I could think of his name. Oh, the guitar players have been here all along. And they'd be able to play with speed. It's been like that ever since I started playing the guitar. You had guitar players playing with speed, and you had guitar players playing colorful, playing behind singers. There's always been guitar players out there can play. But as you get older, in my case, I was able to, I wanted to play fast. I wanted to play pretty. And the main thing I wanted to do was swing, because that's what I had to do. That's what you had to do back in my day. You had to be able to swing, because you're playing for dances. Even though you're playing for older people, they get out there and started dancing. And you had to be able to make them, you had to move people. That's how I come up in moving people. And as I said before, guitar players were mostly playing with like Nat King Cole. Nat King Cole group he had a guitar player with him. It was Oscar Moore. And Nat King Cole was a piano player. But he could sing so well until his singing overshadowed his piano playing, even though he was able to play the piano. And Oscar Moore, the guitar player, was able to blend in with his singing and also with his piano playing. So guitar can go all kinds of ways. So I liked Barney Kessel. That's one I liked him because he was heavy. He played at the Jazz Philharmonic, and he played there when he taken a solo, you know it was Barney, because Barney wasn't ticky or just picking. He hit that guitar loud and hard. He was a hard player, and but he made the Jazz Philharmonics because of that reason, because he could play so hard. And so that's where the guitar pick comes in at. You got to realize that in order to play like that, you got to have a different kind of pick. But if you want to play both ways, you got to have a different kind of pick. Now I got all these picks here, and believe it or not, I got to find the one that can play fast and also swing and also play pretty. That's what's happening in the pick. And I got a bunch of picks. I got one pick made out of wood, but that pick refused to move. You can't make it play fast, you can't make it play soft, you can't make it do nothing, but you got to have the right pick. And so guitar players nowadays, well, they are mostly playing fast. They got guitar players out there that wish it, they can play it fast as heck, but I don't know what they're doing when they come to, when you have to swing. I don't know if that's, I don't know if swinging is that important nowadays anyway. But I know one thing, you got to have rhythm. So that's where the pick comes in at. And I've been playing for the last 20 years.
That's kind of an abrupt ending to part 3 of our extended series of Harlem Speaks interviews with George Freeman. Thank you to Ted Panken for doing such a wonderful job with the interview. And we'll pick up right where this one left off as part of another of the National Jazz Museum in Harlem's Harlem Speaks series of extended oral history interviews. The museum offers many programs, some historical, some interviews, many on contemporary issues that intersect in many and surprising ways with jazz. My name is Loren Schoenberg. I'm the senior scholar at the museum. You can find out more about what we offer at our website, www.jmih.org, at our Facebook page, also on our YouTube channel, where many of these interviews ultimately live. On behalf of the staff, our board, our volunteers, everyone at the museum, we want to thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.